Just a few years ago, I used to be chronically depressed. Like I could barely move some days to even brush my teeth. My anxiety was through the roof, so much so that each night I couldn't sleep. I felt that there was this steel knife just moving through my chest. And my ability to focus on things was awful. I remember trying to sit and study one particular day with a stopwatch in my hand, and I could barely last 12 minutes before I got bored or distracted or have intrusive thoughts. I had enough of this miserable life, and I finally decided that I'm going to fix my broken brain. So for the next 5 years, I read hundreds of books, watched 1,000 different podcasts, tried multiple supplements, diets, exercise programs, mental frameworks, and I've now finally figured out what really works and gets you results, and what is just complete bullshit designed to get clicks and views. In this video, I'm going to share a couple of protocols that completely flipped my life around. I went from being this depressed, anxious person with ADHD-like symptoms to becoming a person who worked as a software engineer at top companies like Dell Technologies, AMD, Synopsys. Additionally, I was one of the top performing students in my bachelor's and my master's program. I accomplished all of these things while reading books, lifting weights in the gym, and training martial arts 6 days a week. So I hope that my personal transformation lends some credibility to what I'm about to say next. So in the past, the first thing that I used to do as soon as I woke up was literally scroll through social media for like 10-15 hours, and this was even before I brushed my teeth, washed my face, none of that. Wake up, scroll through social media for 10-20 minutes, and that was like my morning shot of coffee. Then I just used to drag myself from the bed semi-awake, head still filled with brain fog due to inadequate sleep, and I used to have this large bowl of cereal, milk and cocoa pops, sugary stuff, and I loved it, to be honest. Once I was done with this, I used to just grab my bag, head towards school, sleep deprived, filled with brain fog, unmotivated, and I couldn't wait for the lectures to get over so I could just come back home and play video games. The game that I played the most by far was GTA. This particular version of it, I think it was GTA San Andreas. I must have spent like at least 1,000 hours just playing that game. Like literally every single day after school, I used to play that game for like 2 to 4 hours. And once I was done with it, I would order fast food, McDonald's, burgers and fries. And I would lie to myself. I would tell myself that, hey, this is good. I'm just bulking. I need to put on some size because I used to be a skinny kid. Finally, when it was bedtime, I once again lied down, went through a lot of social media, checked my notifications, spoke to people, and I visited a lot of adult sites. And to be honest, I thought this was normal because 99% of the kids in my class were doing it. They were even talking about it, bragging about it. And I just thought it was normal. And I used to like make Google searches regarding this. Hey, is porn, is masturbation, are these things okay? And I used to get these reviews from these, I don't know, medical articles saying it was healthy and you should do it. You avoid the risk of prostate cancer and all that mumbo jumbo. The biggest difference between me in the past to me now is that in the past I used to seek instant pleasure all the time. Literally from the point where my eyes opened to the point where my eyes closed. Social media, fast food, porn, video games, all these things just bombarded my brain with excessive dopamine. And these things are like socially acceptable drugs at this point. Like everyone does it and no one bats an eye. Once you experience such high amounts of pleasure from all these things, you realize that all the other productive things appear to be boring. Like they pale in comparison. After playing video games, this highly stimulating game GTA where I was just running over people, shooting people, I don't know, doing all this fancy stuff in this fancy world where I had status and money, I did not feel like studying math after that. I did not feel like updating my vocabulary, reading books, or even working out. I didn't feel like putting in work towards anything because I had accomplished so much in this fictional world without any effort whatsoever. And this also impacted my relationship with my family. Right? I was no longer interested in family gatherings. I remember my parents always going out, taking us out, and I used to be like, nah, you guys go, leave me alone. And I just used to stay at home playing video games, binge eating fast food. The worst thing among all these ways of seeking instant pleasure is short form content. Like think about an average scrolling session. You are literally like rewiring your brain. You're literally teaching your brain to only be able to focus for 60 seconds on a video and then demand something new and then demand something novel. You are teaching yourself to be bored all the time. And that is what I had been doing for hours. Just rewiring my brain to be only able to focus for 60 seconds, get bored, distracted, and search for something new and novel. And I observed the negative effects of just short form content one day when I was like watching this movie and I found myself skipping scenes. Like every 5 to 10 minutes I was like skipping scenes, moving ahead, going to the fun scenes. And I realized that damn, this entire movie was designed to be entertaining. It was designed for me to get out of my monotonous life and enjoy some action sequence in this new scenario, in this new world. And even that wasn't stimulating enough for me. Like, I had to skip scenes. I found that boring. And that is when it occurred to me how badly short form content has messed up my attention span. Like, I couldn't sit through a movie, let alone do something as hard as studying math. So once my attention span was short, my motivation levels were down, I was depressed, I was anxious. I pretty much lost this fundamental human ability to do productive things. Like, I lost that ability to change my life because I couldn't work, I couldn't do things, I couldn't focus, and neither did I have the motivation to do these things. It's as if I was like paralyzed. And once you can't do productive things, you fill that void in your life with more instant pleasure. So I was stuck in this vicious cycle of boredom, pleasure, boredom, pleasure, boredom, pleasure. I was stuck in the cycle for years and years of my life, and the cycle was wrecking my mental health. If you're someone who enjoys information-based content rather than just raw entertainment, then click on the subscribe button because I'm going to be making more of such videos and you wouldn't want to miss them out. Finally, one particular day, like this was the darkest day of my life. I was laying in my bed, eating garbage food like breadcrumbs, ketchup all over the bed, and I hadn't taken a bath in like 2 days. Smelled awful, homework incomplete, assignments due. Like, my life was completely miserable. And that particular day, this idea was cemented in my head that instant pleasure kills, and there's literally no such thing as free pleasure. You are literally robbing the future you of happiness, motivation, drive. You are literally experiencing all the positive emotion that you should have been experiencing in the future in that second when you consume free instant pleasure. And you keep building up this debt, this happiness debt, this loan that you have taken, and you are going to have to pay it. And it's a horrible experience. So I then made a list of all these things that I subconsciously knew, like, these things were damaging my mental health. No matter what science said, no matter what some article said, I made a list of them, like pornography, video games, fast food, social media. And then I went to war against them. I literally shaved my head, like went complete bald. This was symbolic. I became a soldier and I was at war with my own mind. Me shaving my head showed a big commitment. Like, it was do or die for me. So the first few times I tried to quit these things, I experienced a lot of cravings, a lot of withdrawal symptoms, volatility of mood, because my brain was hooked to these things: fast food, pornography, social media. It was just so hooked to them. It had been experiencing dopamine from like the last 10 years from these things, and now just giving them up wasn't easy. So during this phase of trying to quit these things, I discovered a secret weapon, and I'm shocked that none of these influencers talk about this. I started fasting, like hardcore fasting, not eating food for 18 to 20 hours. I know most people are thinking that how is not eating food for 18 to 20 hours going to help you avoid cravings and give up all these addictions. Based on my experience and based on the experiences of all the people that I've coached, when you fast for something like 18 to 20 hours, or even more than that if you can manage it, then it's as if you have switched off that dopamine seeking part of your brain. Like, you literally stop experiencing cravings. No more cravings of fast food, no more cravings of pornography, no more cravings of cigarette, no more cravings of tobacco. All sorts of cravings magically just switch off. And I know it's hard to believe. I never thought it was possible to until I did the experiments myself and made my friends do it. So now I wasn't like fighting my cravings. The tug of war, the mental tug of war I was having with my cravings finally ended, and these voices in my head finally stopped screaming at me. So once that happened, I decided that I'm no longer going to live impulsively based on mood and emotion. I am actually going to live my life based on a routine. So every single hour of my day was accounted for. What time I wake up, what time I have my first meal, what time I actually study, what time I work out, what time I read books, what time I pray, what time I decide to go to sleep. I decided that I'm going to live a very disciplined life. Now keep in mind, initially I didn't abide by this routine like 100% of the time. Initially it was like 40-50%, but gradually I built discipline and I made my routine more stringent, more difficult, more complicated, because I had developed this discipline now. So now I could achieve my routine with a much higher success rate. And to be honest, I had to make a routine and fill it with activities, because I realized when you are not doing behaviors that give you instant gratification, like no more social media, no more binge eating fast food, no more video games, you have a lot of free time in your life. Like a big void existed in my life. And I came back home after school, after university, and I realized, what do I even do? And you know that saying, an idle mind is the devil's playground. You are much more likely to be tempted when you're bored and you have free time in your hands. And that is why you need to constantly be busy. You need to be doing things. And once you have a routine, you literally have to just look at a piece of paper to know what you should be doing at this particular moment. And doing these productive things, they actually release healthy amounts of dopamine into your system. So you are getting pleasure as well. It's not just robotically doing tasks and experiencing no fun and pleasure. Each time you tick something off that to-do list, your brain releases dopamine. So what I essentially did was replace all this instant quick gratification, which is very temporary, with delayed gratification, which is long lasting, and it fulfills you, it makes you rejuvenated. So if you are someone who wants to get a lot of work done, who wants to be a productive individual, you have ambitions and goals, but procrastination, fast food, instant gratification, all these things are weighing you down, then click on the link in the description and book a one-on-one call with me, because I can really help you get out of this rut and start living the life that you deserve to live. I only work with 5 clients a month to give them all my time and attention, so make sure you click on the link in the description and not lose out.